In this wild world, to stand still is to die. Nature knows no compassion. Every breath is a battle. Change or be erased. A single misstep is paid for in blood. Welcome to the most brutal frontline on the planet. Across the vast canvas of Africa, one roar rises above all others. It is the sound of the lion, a symbol of power and the heart of a complex social world unlike any other in the cat family. The African savannah trembles under the hooves of millions of migrants, and in this kingdom of grass and endless sky, the lion is the uncrowned king. Under the scorching heat of the day, the pride conserves its energy, but its eyes never leave the horizon, where herds of African buffalo gather around the last water holes. When the wind shifts, an invisible command is passed. The lionesses, the master strategists, begin to move. They do not attack head-on, but take up their positions, using every bush, every slope to their advantage. The hunt is not a chase, but a battle of wills. On one side, the collective strength of the pride. On the other, a fortress of horn and muscle. The silence is shattered by roars and the impact of bodies. The air grows thick with the smell of dust, sweat, and fear. A young buffalo is separated from the herd, and in an instant, the fight focuses on a single point. The adult buffalo turn back, forming a defensive circle, their horns pointing outward like a forest of spears. But the pride has been waiting for this moment. Chaos is their ally. A coordinated attack, brutal but effective, and the throne of the savannah is once again claimed in blood. But Africa is a continent of contrasts. And as we leave the Golden Plains, another world awaits. A world sculpted not from earth and grass, but from rock and time. Where hot sand meets ancient stone, and the wind whispers tales from the dawn of time. A forgotten land where life persists in extraordinary ways against the most formidable of odds. Every canyon, every waterhole, is a final fortress, holding the secrets of resilience. Here, time seems to stand still, but the struggle for survival is a relentless, unfolding drama. This is the story of an ecosystem on the edge, where life is but a breath held against the vastness of the arid land. A masterpiece of nature, where only the most tenacious can prevail. The wind sweeps hot sand across the cracked earth, where dromedary camels walk with an unhurried grace. The addax follows, enduring the searing heat of midday. And in the last remaining pools, crocodiles swim in silence, living relics of a prehistoric age. In the wilderness of Enedi, a great sandstone oasis rises from the dust, sculpted into majestic arches and fiery red canyons. Hidden in the ochre-colored waters of the Guelta d'Arque, the last crocodiles of Enedi breathe slowly and wait. They are not large, nor are they aggressive, but they are living proof of a Sahara that was once green. But now, what remains is a small lagoon, shrinking with the heat, with time, and with the changing climate itself. The air temperature exceeds 113 degrees Fahrenheit, while the average annual rainfall is a mere 2 inches. The crocodiles here are isolated, leaving them vulnerable to change and more susceptible to extinction. And they are not alone. Dozens of other species are adjusting their rhythms of life to survive amidst the aridity and the heat. But strangely, despite it all, Enedi remains one of the Sahara's centers of biodiversity. A wild and rich ecosystem with many species of mammals, birds, reptiles, and amphibians persists here, as if refusing to vanish from a land shaped by millions of years of change. Located in the northeastern corner of Chad, on the fragile boundary between the Sahel and the Sahara, the Enedi Plateau emerges like a fissure in the heart of the arid desert, yet it is surprisingly vibrant and complex. As the wind blows through the ancient rock crevices, it sounds like a whisper of time. Beneath that apparent stillness, a dark figure begins to move. It is the striped hyena. The striped hyena has a slender body with a coat of ashen grey and distinct black stripes, serving as both perfect camouflage under the moonlight and a warning signal to its enemies. The mane on its back can be erected, making its body appear up to 40% larger, creating a formidable impression in situations of threat or competition. Unlike the spotted hyena, it lives a solitary life or in pairs, and sometimes in small groups of no more than 7 individuals. The striped hyena is an adaptable and opportunistic species. It can follow the faintest trail of blood, find an unfortunate carcass, and crush bones, hooves, and skin with its powerful jaws. But when carrion is scarce, the striped hyena does not hesitate to become a hunter. Following in the footsteps of the creature known as the thief of the night, a snake with a peculiar pair of horns on its head appears, burying itself beneath the scorching sand. It is none other than the Sahara horned viper, a silent assassin in the heart of the desert. With a modest length of only 12 to 24 inches, the Sahara horned viper possesses a compact but extremely agile and deadly body. Its skin, with a characteristic pattern, allows it to almost completely disappear among the sand and rocks. The most prominent feature is the 2 small horns above its eyes, which help to reduce direct sunlight and make it look like an inanimate part of the environment. The snake moves using a technique called sidewinding, sliding sideways across the hot sand, which helps to reduce friction and conserve energy. It is a natural ambusher, burying itself under the sand and waiting for prey to approach before launching a lightning-fast strike. Have you ever wondered why some desert snakes do not crawl straight forward but move in this peculiar sidewinding fashion? This is not a dance, but a masterpiece of physics and survival. When sidewinding, the snake has only 2 points of its body in contact with the scorching sand at any given moment. This minimizes the risk of burns on the desert surface, which can reach up to 158 degrees Fahrenheit. At the same time, this technique generates an effective thrust on the loose sand, allowing it to move quickly without slipping. It is like a master skier, but on a sea of sand. Sometimes, the straightest path is not the most effective one. To overcome the harshest of challenges, we must learn to move differently, to adapt, and to find unexpected paths. Like the desert snake, sometimes we must sidewind through our difficulties instead of confronting them head-on, only to realize that flexibility is the ultimate strength. From the silent movements of the assassin in the sand, the journey of survival now leads us to the refuge of a small but incredible creature. It is the rock hyrax, an animal with a surprisingly close relationship to the elephant. Beneath its sandy grey fur is a body specially adapted to conquer rocky terrain and steep slopes. Its soft paws are covered with a sticky, rubber-like padding, allowing it to grip firmly onto near-vertical surfaces. Each morning, the rock hyrax emerges onto the rocky outcrops to bask in the sun, absorbing heat to raise its body temperature, as it has poor thermoregulation. Each individual rarely strays more than 164 feet from its shelter, and there is always a sentinel on high, alert for aerial predators like eagles or terrestrial ones like the caracal. Though small, the rock hyrax plays an essential role in the food chain. It is an important prey for many predators and actively contributes to the decomposition and regeneration of vegetation. Where snakes bury themselves under the hot sand and hyraxes bask on the cliff faces, there is always an eye watching from the shadows. It is the caracal, a formidable predator with a compact and agile body. Its deep reddish-gold coat blends perfectly with the desert terrain. But what truly defines this species are its erect ears, with long black tufts at the tips, like ancient brushes, forming one of the most sophisticated biological guidance systems in the cat family. A caracal can detect the rustle of a mouse at a distance of 164 feet, or sense the faint wing beats of disoriented migratory birds. When the moment comes, it leaps up to 10 feet high, then fells its prey with a direct bite to the throat or the nape of the neck, paralyzing it instantly. In the biological chain, the caracal acts as a regulator of mid-level prey. It controls the overgrowth of rodent populations and maintains the balance of hyrax and granivorous bird populations. When the predators have retreated into the shade of the rocks, one species remains on high. It does not belong to the earth, not bound by the confines of rock or sand. It observes every movement in silence from a height of nearly 1,640 feet. In an arid world where life is ever fragile, the white-backed vulture is the final link in the biological cycle. Its eyes can spot a small carcass from a distance of over 2 miles. When an animal falls, that biological signal is quickly transmitted across the sky through a chain reaction among different vulture species. In just a few minutes, from a single point of death on the ground, the sky fills with wings. And as the white-backed vulture descends in a spiral from above, the ground trembles gently under the heavy beat of its wings, like drum beats heralding a ritual of rebirth in the desert. The digestive system of the white-backed vulture is extremely acidic, allowing it to digest diseased tissues without falling ill. The presence of this species acts as an invisible shield, preventing dangerous biological outbreaks. And as the last wings of the white-backed vulture disappear behind the edge of the red rock, a smaller, whiter figure, with black-tipped wings like brushstrokes, glides through the remaining layers of hot air. The Egyptian vulture, one name, 3 worlds: mythology, biology, and instinct. A descendant of an ancient evolutionary line of Old World vultures, the Egyptian vulture carries in its genes the instincts of species that existed over 500,000 years ago. It is not the strongest in the sky, but it is one of the wisest. The Egyptian vulture often waits until the larger vulture species have begun their feast. Then, each individual descends in silence, approaching and carefully plucking the most nutritious soft tissue parts. It is no coincidence that the ancient Egyptians depicted it on their stone walls, worshipping it as a symbol of Ma'at, order and truth. For even in its manner of eating, everything is done with a precise logic and a respect for the natural order. Following the giant sandstone formations, deeper into the heart of Enedi, a completely different world is revealed. The Relict oasis forest, fragments of an ancient woodland that persist right in the center of the arid and harsh Sahara. In the current climatic context, the isolated presence of forests in the middle of the desert is an extremely rare ecological phenomenon. They not only represent the last refuge for many endemic species, but also play a crucial role in preserving biodiversity. One of the most striking features of this ecosystem is the Bachikele Gorge, known locally as Bashi. At the bottom of the gorge, hundreds of feet deep, grow trees up to 65 feet tall with dense, year-round green foliage, characteristic of the tropical forests of equatorial Africa. The Bachikele Gorge possesses a unique microclimate thanks to its vertical cliffs that provide constant shade and ancient underground springs. The average temperature at the bottom of the gorge is 5 to 10 degrees Celsius lower than the surrounding desert. The Bidiat people believe that the spirits of their ancestors still live in those waters and will continue to protect their descendants from thirst and from getting lost. Each year, the local people come here to worship their ancestors, offer sacrifices, and pray for the protection of their camel herds. In addition to its cultural value, this place is also the last refuge for many animal species. Amidst the dense vegetation, the African wildcat persists silently, adapted to a semi-forest and semi-desert environment. At the same time, the African rock python glides among the hot rocks, its body coiled and with a latent power. This giant snake is a master of ambush, capable of lying motionless for hours among the rocks or near streams, waiting for its prey. The Relict oasis forest of Enedi is not just a living relic of an ancient ecosystem, but also a genetic treasure of high value to science. On the dry, ancestral rock, and amidst the ruins of the forest that still stand, there is one species that neither hides nor camouflages. It presents itself as a living part of the landscape, noisy, organized, and extremely adaptable. Between the vertical rock corridors, on the banks of underground streams and cool microenvironments, groups of olive baboons gather in troops. The males can weigh up to 68 pounds and be nearly 4 feet long, including the tail. Their olive grey fur allows them to easily blend in with the sand and rock of the region. They live in large groups called troops, without a fixed dominant leader, but with a flexible social system based on hierarchy, kinship, and experience. They dig for roots and tubers, eat fallen fruits, tough leaves, and even small insects. When conditions permit, they also hunt. Some hunts are simple and quick, like chasing a bird or a lizard. But when food is extremely scarce, they cooperate to hunt larger prey. While foraging, they disperse the seeds of many native plant species through their droppings. Every step, every movement, is not just a search for food, but also opens up the possibility of survival for an entire micro-ecosystem. They soften the soil, clear paths, and sometimes become prey for larger predators, maintaining the integrity of the ecological chain. When the shadow of the olive baboon disappears among the low bushes, it gives way to another figure that appears in silence. It is the Barbery sheep. Its powerful body can weigh up to 320 pounds with a length of nearly 5 feet. Its sandy-colored coat with brown tones allows it to camouflage, acting as an armor against the scorching heat and the vigilant eyes of predators. And then there are the scythe-shaped horns, which can be up to 30 inches long, used for fighting or self-defense. When the Barbery sheep moves, it breaks up the surface soil, allowing water to penetrate deeper. It disperses seeds through its droppings, helping to preserve native plant species that prevent erosion. On a dry and barren land, wild creatures appear and disappear under the sun like mirages. And among them, the African wolf appears with a slender body, its sandy and dusty coat blending with the landscape. Unlike large predators that depend on specific prey, the African wolf eats everything it can: hares, rodents, birds, and even carrion. Near the last dunes of the season, a larger but much more fragile creature walks slowly. It is the North African ostrich, which can be up to 9 feet tall and weigh over 300 pounds. But it can still run at a speed of 43 miles per hour if it needs to escape. Unlike its relatives to the south, this species only exists in small groups in Enedi. And in a place where animals struggle every day to survive, humans are not exempt from this competition. The Biodiat people, a nomadic community scattered across this barren land, understand better than anyone the precariousness of nature. All their possessions are loaded onto camels, constantly moving in search of grass and water, two things more precious than any metal in the Sahara. In their collective memory, the ancestors of the Biodiat were warriors on horseback, returning from battle with animals captured from the enemy, a way to display strength and status. According to legend, inside those caves are the spirits of the rock that guard everything and punish those who dare to desecrate the place. Along the red dust corridors and the seasonal grasslands, the figure of a creature both familiar and mysterious appears. The Dromedary camel is a one-humped animal associated with the desert landscape, carrying within it a story of survival that goes beyond imagination. This journey began millions of years ago, when the ancestors of the genus Camelus left North America, crossed the icy Beringia, traveled through the Eurasian steppes, and evolved into the one-humped species. The dromedary appeared 1 to 3 million years ago. Domesticated by humans on the Arabian Peninsula over 4,000 years ago, it has followed trade caravans for thousands of miles across the Sahara Desert. Scorching hot days, bone-chilling nights, winds that carry no water. The dromedary does not just survive, it is adapted to dominate. It can lose up to 25% of its body water without dying, something that would kill most animals. Its oval-shaped red blood cells allow blood to circulate easily, even when the body is dehydrated. Its hump, which contains fat, not water as many believe, is an energy reserve that can sustain it for weeks without food. But its real talent lies in migration. Nomadic, migratory behavior is the key to survival in this harsh land. Each herd of dromedaries, led by a dominant male, travels over 30 miles a day. With strong teeth, they strip thorny leaves without bleeding. Its three-chambered stomach digests poisonous plants that other animals avoid. In an eddy, the dromedary becomes an architect of the ecosystem. With its migration, it disperses seeds through its droppings. With its selective grazing, it avoids damaging plant roots. It is part of a life cycle between aridity and hope. However, the dromedary no longer exists in a completely wild state. For 2,000 years, it has only existed as a domestic animal or in feral populations outside its native habitat. This paradox raises a major question. To survive, must the dromedary become more a part of humanity than of nature? Along with the journey of the dromedary, there is another creature that once reigned over these lands with a steadfast silence and an absolute endurance. They call it the spirit of the desert. In a body about 3 feet tall and weighing 220 pounds, there exists a strange biological machine designed for temperatures up to 122 degrees Fahrenheit, where water is a luxury. Its creamy white coat acts as a natural heat-reflecting mirror, reducing the absorption of sunlight. In the Saharan winter, its coat turns grey, blending into the arid landscape. It can live for months without drinking a single drop of water. Every blade of grass, every drop of dew, all are sources of life. A stomach divided into compartments, kidneys highly efficient at retaining water, and restricted sweat glands. The addax once traveled hundreds of miles following the rains, like travelers without a map. Herds of hundreds, even thousands, are now just a memory. Currently, only small groups of 5 to 15 individuals remain, gliding in silence like ghosts in a sea of sand. The most experienced individuals lead the way, remembering ancient trails, patches of unburned grass, and waterholes that appear only once every few years. It chooses a strategy of hiding, waiting, avoiding conflict. During the day, it digs burrows in the sand to escape the scorching sun. At night, when the desert temperature drops sharply, it begins to move, taking advantage of the darkness to feed. There was a time when it was thought that the addax had disappeared from nature, but no. In 2023, amidst the ancient rock formations of Enedi, 10 individuals were reintroduced from breeding centers. It was a rebirth, and it reinforced the belief that what God has created will never be forgotten. The footprints of the addax fade, and the journey takes us to the smallest fox on the planet. It is the tiny fennec fox, with a length of only 16 inches and a weight of less than 3 pounds. But do not let its appearance fool you. Its ears, up to 6 inches long, are its ultimate weapon. They not only help to dissipate heat, but also act as a biological radar, capable of picking up the sounds of mice, insects, or lizards moving under the sand. It does not stalk like a cat, nor does it need the speed of a canid. The fennec fox's hunting strategy combines extremely sensitive hearing, fast reflexes, and an incredible ability to dig in the sand. It does not need to drink water. It gets its moisture directly from its prey and from fruits. From the dunes of Morocco to the dry steppes of Sudan, the fennec fox has evolved over tens of thousands of years to adapt to one of the harshest environments on the planet. On that journey, it plays a fundamental role in controlling rodent and insect populations, and in turn, it is the natural prey of predators such as jackals, hyenas, or large owls. The first ray of sunlight glides over the red cliffs, and a winged shadow soars from a lonely peak. The tawny eagle, the lord of the aerial silence in the rocky desert land. It was not born to hide like the fox, nor to wait for the night like the owl. The tawny eagle is the daylight, with lethal precision. With a wingspan of up to 6.5 feet, a powerful body of nearly 7 pounds, and a vision capable of detecting the movement of a small lizard from a distance of hundreds of feet. From tens of thousands of years ago, this eagle species has evolved to dominate the lands scorched by the sun. Sometimes it dives from a height of 330 feet, swooping down and catching its prey, a hare, a snake, a terrestrial bird, or even a newborn gazelle just learning to walk. Sometimes, it waits for hours on a dry tree to surprise an unsuspecting victim. The tawny eagle's behavior changes with the seasons. When the rains come and the grass turns green, the young are born. The nest is built on tall, solitary trees amidst the arid plains, where the wind cannot reach the eggs. During the long, dry season, it flies further, sometimes hundreds of miles a day, in search of the last patches of life. It does not always hunt alone. A mature pair can coordinate to take down larger prey, attacking from 2 directions to corner the target in a place with no escape. Thanks to its diet, it regulates the density of rodents, terrestrial birds, and snakes, contributing to the balance of the entire ecosystem. And when it feeds on carrion, it not only sustains its own life, but also cleans the environment and prevents disease outbreaks. At the same time, a dark shadow glides across the sky, silent, sharp, proud. It is the Bonelli's eagle, an ancient predator, a perfect combination of speed, power, and precision. From a solitary branch or the top of a rock, it observes its prey, a dictic, a guinea fowl, a hyrax, and dives with a force strong enough to end a life on the first impact. Sometimes it hunts in pairs, one distracting, the other finishing. But behind the great wings, the footprints carved on the red sand, this place reveals a fragile ecosystem struggling to cope with unpredictable changes. The dry seasons are becoming longer and more severe. The most recent climate data from 2023 shows that the average annual temperature here has risen by 1.3 degrees Celsius compared to the 1980s. As a result, the degradation of vegetation is happening rapidly. Many areas that were once covered by seasonal grasslands have turned into arid and impoverished lands. This has increased competition among species, which is now more frequent than ever. Habitat fragmentation is no longer a local issue. When ecological corridors are interrupted by informal routes and commercial activities, wide-ranging species face isolated areas. Once the migration chain is broken, life loses its ability to regenerate. The caves have been invaded by treasure hunters, and some are used as temporary shelters for the trade of camels or wild animals. When the rock paintings are scraped or erased, not only is a cultural memory lost, but a part of the ecological heritage that was once as vibrant as the land that surrounds it also silently collapses. If nature in an eddy once triumphed over sandstorms, the passage of time, and isolation, today it is struggling to survive against the challenges posed by climate change and human activities. And in this place, where the wind never stops blowing over the ancient rocks, nature once again waits for a chance to breathe. In the Enedi Natural and Cultural Reserve, steps towards restoration are taken every day with the precision of a large-scale conservation plan and a well-defined scientific foundation. Since 2019, the organization African Parks has begun to implement a comprehensive conservation management program. In this place, over 40 rangers patrol regularly, combined with a system of camera traps and drones to monitor the movement and reproduction of species. Environmental education programs have reached over 250 schools, directly reaching 34,000 people. Meanwhile, new legal frameworks for resource protection, tourism control, and the restoration of rock art are gradually being developed. At the same time, 348 archaeological and natural heritage sites have been recorded and protected. The reintroduction programs in Enedi are not just efforts to return animals to their natural habitats, but are also an essential part of the strategy to restore the Sahel-Sahara ecosystem. Locally extinct species such as the addax or the North African ostrich are gradually being re-established in the wild. Every small action today is a seed for the future of Enedi and of the entire planet. Conservation is not just the responsibility of organizations, but requires the participation of every individual, from learning and sharing knowledge to supporting conservation programs and choosing responsible tourism. The Enedi ecosystem can only continue to exist if we protect every drop of water, every bush, every footprint of life. A new day begins, and in the heart of the savannah, the silence is broken by a confident stride. A new day begins, and with it, a presence emerges. Not with the haste of the hunted, nor the stealth of the uncertain, but with the measured gait of a king. All 485 pounds of muscle and majesty, he is the embodiment of the savannah, a living icon of power that needs no introduction. Every movement is a lesson in dominance, a body built for direct confrontation, moving forward with a deliberate, calculated rhythm. But strength is not his only asset. What makes him truly formidable is his ability to maintain control over an empire. His roar can carry for 5 miles, a resonant warning to any who dare draw near. When hunger demands action, the drama of the hunt unfolds, but he is not the protagonist. The lionesses, smaller and more agile, are the true architects of the attack. They move in silence, with gestures that are almost imperceptible. Each knows her role, one at the front, another on the flank, and a third to block the escape. At the decisive moment, it is all over in seconds. A pounce, a rustle in the grass, and the fatal bite to the throat ends any attempt at escape. The meal has been secured, but it comes with a price. The males, despite not participating in the hunt, have priority in sharing the spoils. They demand respect, but they also offer protection. Battles are fought not just for territory, but for lineage. A new leader, upon taking over a pride, may kill the cubs of his predecessor. A pride's territory can exceed 96 square miles, marked not only by roars, but also by scent and constant patrols. Even at rest beneath the shade of a tree, a lion is never truly relaxed. He observes, he calculates, and he decides. Because on the savannah, the leader is not the one who roars the loudest, but the one who knows when to act. But power on the savannah wears many faces. As the sun burns down, forcing the great prides into slumber, another, more secretive form of dominance rises. This is a dominion, not of roars and open rule, but of shadows and silence. The leopard moves alone, and it is a choice. Weighing around 130 pounds, with a slender body cloaked in a tapestry of rosettes, it is born to be unseen. The savannah does not notice him, and that is exactly how he wants it. His footfalls are almost completely silent. He can spend hours observing a clearing, gauging the wind, assessing every movement. The leopard does not hunt on impulse. He waits for the perfect moment. When he strikes, it seems as if time itself slows down. The leap is precise, the impact certain, and a single bite to the nape of the neck ends it all before a sound can be made. But what truly sets this predator apart is what he does next. He hauls the carcass, often larger than himself, high into the branches of a tree. There, beyond the reach of hyenas and lions, he turns the canopy into a secure larder. This behavior is not mere instinct, it is calculation. The leopard avoids conflict, anticipates risk, and guards his prize with an admirable composure. At night, he is transformed. His exceptional vision and acute sense of smell make him a phantom of the shadows. He hunts in absolute silence, using the darkness as his ally. He does not confront danger. He moves around it. A body built for agility, senses that act as a constant radar, and a mind ever alert, make him one of the most dangerous predators. Without fame or fanfare, he exists in quietude. An enemy cannot attack what it cannot see. In the leopard's world, every day is a problem of survival, and he is always one step ahead. Even in sleep, his ears listen, his eyes half closed beneath the leaves, ready to vanish in an instant. Because for this predator, secrecy is the most effective armor. As dusk settles, a strange sound breaks the silence. It is not a roar, but a sharp, cackling laugh that echoes like a warning. The spotted hyenas are coming. Weighing up to 176 pounds, the spotted hyena is one of Africa's most organized and effective predators. Their strength lies not in the solitary strike, but in the calculated chaos of the clan. A single, intelligent mind operating through many bodies. They do not plan an attack. They are the attack, a fluid wave of opportunity, probing, constantly searching for a single crack in the prey's will. Once the chase begins, the outcome is rarely in the prey's favor. They do not need to be faster. They need to be more persistent. Brutal, but efficient. They often begin to devour their prey even as it still struggles. The shorter the time between the catch and the consumption, the lower the risk of losing the meal to a rival. Competition is part of the game. They confront lions, challenge leopards, and contest space with wild dogs, not with solitary strength, but with their ability to act as one. Their jaws are devastating. Bone, hoof, cartilage all become sustenance. Very little is left behind. They are masters of opportunity, knowing how to turn chaos to their advantage. They do not just hunt, they control the stage. Where they pass, silence gives way to a calculated pandemonium. No one shares a meal with a hyena. They take what they want. In the game of survival, they are not the pawns. They are the players who move the board. And when the last laugh rings out, it is the sound of a perfect hunt concluded. On the horizon, a group of animals appears, breaking the mold of all other predators. Not by power, nor by ambush, but by collective precision. These are the African wild dogs. Weighing around 66 pounds, with long legs and large, rounded ears, these hunters may not impress at first glance, But behind that modest appearance lies one of Africa's most successful predators. The secret is the pack. Each pack operates as a single living organism, where every member knows its role. Before the hunt, there is a quiet preparation, as if they are synchronizing their instincts. They communicate on the run, adjusting positions, encircling the prey, and taking turns to lead the charge. The prey does not face just speed, it faces a collective intelligence. Their defining characteristic is stamina. They can run for great distances without losing pace. When they make a catch, they act with brutal speed, eating quickly to minimize the risk of having their prize stolen. Their success rate can be over 80%. A figure achievable only through discipline, communication, and careful selection of their quarry. This lifestyle extends to their social world. There is a dominant pair, but all participate in raising the young and caring for the injured. It is a solidarity rarely seen among predators. They do not need overwhelming strength, they win with strategy. In the world of the African wild dog, no one is left behind. Survival is not an individual effort, but a victory for the pack. Even the pups are taught how to coordinate, not just how to hunt. Every day is a test of endurance, cohesion, and loyalty. They do not seek glory, they seek life, and they do it together. In this land of fierce competition, they are a reminder that cooperation is also a weapon. As the sun climbs high, a slender figure rises from the grass. The cheetah does not roar. It does not impose with size. It is a masterpiece of biological engineering, built for speed. Weighing just over 150 pounds, it can appear fragile. But its light skeleton, elastic musculature, and a long tail that acts as a rudder make it the fastest land animal on the planet. In under 4 seconds, it can reach 60 miles per hour. But speed without purpose is merely movement. The cheetah's true genius lies in its mastery of the chase. Its spine, a marvel of elastic engineering, allows it to pivot on a blade of grass, to glide through the air, turning the prey's frantic escape into a perfectly orchestrated dance of pursuit. Unlike predators who rely on ambush, the cheetah needs to be seen. It does not attack at whim, but chooses with precision. If it calculates that it cannot close the distance, it abandons the chase, for each attempt costs enormous energy. Its body is not made for repeated conflict. After a chase, it needs time to recover. In those minutes, it is highly vulnerable. A moment's delay can cost it everything. It therefore chooses to hunt by day, avoiding the peak hours of lions and hyenas. It needs peace to eat. But even then, there is no guarantee. It knows it cannot defend its meal. It is a master of the moment, a hunter who does not need to dominate the day, only the single instant when everything aligns and one success is enough to secure another day under the sun. It wins not by force, but by the perfection of its timing. In this harsh world, speed is the only weapon it possesses, and it is all it needs. Every hunt is a gamble, where the line between success and exhaustion is a matter of a few heartbeats. It is not a conqueror of the plains, but an artist of the savannah, silent, sharp, and ruthlessly precise. Because for the cheetah, a single flash of lightning is enough to trade for a day of survival in the land of giants. The tranquil riverbanks of Africa conceal a predator that needs no run, no leap, no roar to dominate. It simply waits, motionless and lethal, the Nile crocodile. Over 16 feet long and weighing up to 1,500 pounds, it looks like a living stone in the water. Only its eyes break the surface, while the rest of its body remains invisible. Its bite force is one of the most powerful in the animal kingdom. Once its jaws have closed, there is no escape. It drags its victim to the bottom and spins violently in a maneuver known as the death roll. During the Great Migrations, when wildebeest and zebra attempt to cross the rivers, the crocodile becomes a silent executioner. The attack is sudden, an explosion of water, a body dragged under, and in seconds, all is quiet. This predator is not limited to large herbivores. An unwary wild dog, a curious lion cub, or even a hyena can become prey. The seemingly placid river is its domain, and there it is king. It does not need to give chase. It turns patience into a weapon. Every strike is the result of hours of immobility, weeks of observation without a single sign. When it acts, time seems to shatter in an instant. Beneath those ancient scales lies a predatory instinct that has survived for millions of years, never going out of style. In the still water, it is not just a predator, it is a nightmare waiting to erupt. Amidst the vastness of the savannah, there is a hunter that the most hurried eyes often overlook. It is neither large nor loud, but its every step is a promise of precision, the servo. Standing just over 2 feet tall, it is a specialist in small-scale predation. Its large, mobile ears act like radar dishes, scanning the surroundings. Every sound is captured with high-definition clarity. It stops, listens, calculates, and then, with an almost supernatural leap, it launches into the air. The serval can jump more than 6 feet high, a short, precise, and almost silent flight. It returns to the ground with its prey already secured in its jaws. Its targets are small: rodents, lizards, birds, insects. Everything requires precision, which is why its hunting success rate is one of the highest on the savannah. It lives in the gaps of the ecosystem, hunting where larger predators do not bother. It avoids being noticed, and that is what keeps it safe. It is the embodiment of adaptation, a master of silent efficiency. It does not need great size to make an impact. Every movement is gentle, yet always with a clear purpose. Its success comes from patience and absolute precision. In the wild, efficiency is sometimes more important than power. It is proof that to live in silence is not to be weak. The African savannah is a territory where every heartbeat follows an ancient instinct. Survival is not just measured in strength or speed, but is expressed in daily decisions, in reading the environment. Each predator we have seen shapes this landscape in its own way, forming a fragile balance where there is no room for weakness. From solitary hunters to pack strategists, from the calculated leap to the explosive underwater strike, all follow rules that were never written. Because on the savannah, the top of the food chain is not a fixed position, it is a constant challenge. Wild Africa, a continent where life tenaciously endures against all odds. landscapes can become a home for life in all its forms. Because wherever there is water and food, life will find a way to hold on. At the continent's southern extreme, there exists a world of curious and unexpected wonders. Here, a mirage of silver and salt stretches to the horizon. This is no wasteland, but a vibrant arena where life, in its most resilient forms, performs its daily miracles. This is Vermont, a land where the impossible seems to unfold. These salt pans border various bodies of water, some with surprisingly strong currents. The entire salt pan area covers approximately 42 acres. Its name, Vermont, is derived from the French Mont Vert, meaning green mountain, a name inspired by the verdant slopes of the nearby Onrus Mountains. A trail, the Vermont Trail, now winds along the pan's edge, drawing nature lovers to witness its remarkable bird life. In the spring and early summer, the air is thick with birds. One can count up to 40 different species in a single hour. During the dry season, however, many will depart, migrating to other feeding grounds, some to the far-flung corners of the globe. The waters here can vary from fast-flowing channels to tranquil lagoons, and each species finds an environment perfectly suited to its needs. And here, amidst the shimmering haze, our first resident reveals itself, the red-knobbed coot, a creature for which perfection is a constant pursuit. It is an activity to which it devotes a great deal of time, second only to its relentless search for food. Observing these birds at close quarters is no easy task. They are notably shy. They feed on algae and the roots and stems of aquatic plants. Given the chance, they will also consume small invertebrates, even diving deep to find them. The female lays a clutch of 5 to 7 eggs, and both parents share the task of incubation. The chicks are quick to leave the nest after hatching and will remain with their parents for about a month. They begin to forage for themselves between 55 and 60 days of age. The two red knobs on their foreheads, which distinguish them from other coots, appear only during the breeding season. At this time, the red-knobbed coot becomes highly territorial, fiercely defending its patch. But life here is a delicate balance. For the Cape shoveler, every ripple on the water, every shadow from above, can signal the end. Survival is a moment-to-moment victory. Tragically, many young red-knobbed coots do not survive, sometimes due to the overzealous care of their parents. Male and female Cape shovelers can be easily distinguished by the male's characteristic yellow eyes. They are usually seen in pairs or small flocks. These ducks are omnivores, their animal diet consisting mainly of mollusks and insects. This remarkable underwater hunter has an equally remarkable name, the great crested grebe. Its size is comparable to that of a common mallard. In many countries, this bird is now locally extinct or on the verge of disappearing. The great crested grebe is an expert swimmer, but a reluctant flyer. It only takes to the air during its seasonal migrations, flying low with a wingspan of about 3 feet. The grebe's preferred food is fish. It will also eat small mollusks and crustaceans, and during times of scarcity will not refuse various kinds of larvae. It can pursue its prey to depths of 13 to 20 feet and can hold its breath for several minutes. In the spring, the grebe develops its distinctive breeding plumage, black, ear-like tufts, and a chestnut ruff around its cheeks. Remarkably, their chicks can swim and dive almost immediately after hatching. Here, there is room enough for all. The black-winged stilt, a creature seemingly sketched with a single, impossibly delicate line, balanced on legs that defy gravity. It is extremely vulnerable to environmental changes. Their numbers are in decline, and they are forced to migrate frequently, partly due to human activity altering water levels and nesting sites. A stilt's wingspan can reach 28 to 33 inches, Its slender, red legs account for about 60% of its total height. The grey heron can stand up to 39 inches tall and fly at speeds of nearly 40 miles per hour. Although it may hunt alone, it lives in quite large colonies. This unique bird lives near bodies of water, foraging for a wide variety of insects and larvae. It is a migratory species, with different strategies for their journeys. The grey heron's diet is quite varied, but consists mainly of fish. In addition, it will eat amphibians, mollusks, crustaceans, and even small rodents. This is no ordinary gull, but the kelp gull. Although we see only one, this bird lives in small coastal colonies. The black-winged stilt is monogamous and nests near the shore, usually no more than 100 yards from the water's edge. Each clutch contains 2 to 4 eggs, with both parents sharing incubation duties. After about 30 days, the young are able to fly and find their own food. The oldest recorded individual of this species lived for about 12 years. The white-breasted cormorant, as its name suggests, has a brilliant white chest and neck. It is a fairly large bird, with a body length of nearly 3 feet. It prefers open waters, both salt and fresh lakes, plains, bays, and lagoons, as long as there is an abundant supply of fish. Each day, a bird needs about 1 pound of food and is capable of swallowing a fish up to 2.5 feet long. A cormorant's body is built for chasing fish. It has little body fat, but incredibly powerful muscles. They can dive to depths of about 13 feet and hold their breath for a minute. Cormorant colonies can number from 10 to 500 pairs. They will travel nearly 40 miles in search of a meal, and thousands of miles during migration. The grey heron's neck has a unique shaped structure, giving it the flexibility to strike, almost instantly, to snatch its prey. In addition to fish, crustaceans, and amphibians, it will also hunt small birds or their young. It can hunt by day or by night. The kelp gull can live beside the ocean or inland freshwater bodies. The young have a dark brown back and take 3 to 4 years to mature. This is a juvenile kelp gull with the characteristic mottled brown plumage on its back. It is an opportunist, feeding on any small prey it can find, as well as carrion and refuse. The grey heron may nest in trees or near the water, and has a habit of returning to the same nest, or at least the same nesting site, year after year. Pairs are formed through a courtship ritual, in which the male calls to potential females. Once a pair is formed, they build the nest together, the male gathering the materials, the female undertaking the construction. They take turns incubating the clutch of 2 to 3 eggs. After about 25 days, the chicks hatch and are fed by both parents for another 7 to 8 weeks before they can fly. The flamingo, truly captivating birds, and an adornment to any landscape. This extraordinary creature's wingspan can reach up to 5.5 feet, and it can stand nearly 4 feet tall. They can fly at speeds of up to 37 miles per hour. They are highly social, sometimes gathering in groups of thousands during their migrations. Flamingos patrol shallow waters during the day, searching for food such as mollusks, crustaceans, crabs, and insects. They also supplement their diet with plant matter, such as grasses, seeds, and algae. The flamingo's beak is a highly specialized structure that functions as a filter. The bird can submerge its beak, and sometimes its entire head, to suck in water, which it then forces out, retaining the food inside. One theory suggests that the kelp gull's alternative name, the Dominican gull, refers to the Dominican order of friars, whose plumage it is thought to resemble. Despite their delicate appearance, flamingos are not only powerful flyers, but also talented swimmers. They bathe frequently to clean their feathers. Flamingos are monogamous, but form a new pair each breeding season. They perform elaborate courtship displays, which include raising their wings and wagging their heads in synchrony. The pair builds the nest together. A single egg is laid, rarely two. Both parents then share incubation duties for 27 to 30 days. The young stay close to the adults. A juvenile is typically grey and will not develop its full adult plumage until it is 2 or 3 years old.